The movie starts by showing an overview of a quiet suburb. People are busy going on with their lives, but one of them is preparing for the most monumental night of his life. Drew is cooking spaghetti as he is expecting a friend to come over. He is a simple man living his life, but it looks like he has experienced an emotionally draining situation recently. He drinks a beer while boiling water for the pasta when he hears a knock on the door. Beth is finally there. Drew is confused about her time of arrival, because he thought they agreed to meet at a later time. Beth, though, says they agreed to meet at 7 p.m., and insists she is just on time. They both feel awkward standing by the door, so Beth asks if she can come in. Of course, Drew lets her in. He has been expecting her. Beth is an attractive woman, with a pixie haircut that highlights her face. She looks like she is expecting some sort of compliment from Drew. She is unsure, but she enters the house anyway. They exchange a friendly hug. She's wearing a black dress that's too short for Drew's comfort. Compared to his regular sweatshirt and Bermuda shorts, she is too dressed up for the occasion. Adding to this is the fact that he is really smitten by her beauty. But flirting and making romance is not his goal for this meetup. To lighten the situation, he cracks a joke about cleaning the place. Beth goes along with it, then says sincerely that he did a good job. This makes Drew feel proud of himself. Then he comments on her dress. Beth defends her choice because she thought they were going out for dinner. Drew offers to change clothes and get ready, but she tells him it's okay. After all, she brought wine for them. He gets confused, as it doesn't add up to her statement. Regardless, he takes the bottle and places it inside the refrigerator. They keep the awkward conversation going, discussing their respective lives over the past few weeks. Drew says he has been seeing a doctor because he does not feel well. As for Beth, she has been taking extra shifts at work, presumably to keep busy. Initially, she refuses to drink the wine she brought, but after Drew compliments how pretty she looks, she decides she needs a drink. Looking at the two of them, one can only wonder about their body language. It is as if they were once intimate with each other, but somehow there is now a vast distance between them. It feels like they are starting again. If that is what you think about them, then you are right. Drew and Beth were a couple for the past few years, up until their recent breakup. Tonight, since he still wants her in his life despite separating, Drew decided to invite Beth over as a friend, to see if that dynamic will work for them. As they talk, Drew accidentally spills some beer over his shirt. He decides to take a shower and change into more fitting clothes. After all, Beth looks great in her dress. He should also show his best. He tells her she can pick a movie to watch after their dinner. Beth is surprised at this. She never got to pick the movies before. Drew shrugs as if telling her that things can change. He proceeds to the bathroom, leaving Beth alone in the living room. She sees that Drew has cleaned up his house. She remembers that the place used to be messy and disorganized. In the time that they have been apart, Drew's place has greatly improved. She looks at the shelf with its organized books and ornaments. She is thinking that this place looks familiar, but new at the same time. Can there be a new beginning for them, if everything stays the same? She comfortably sits on the sofa and reads one of the magazines. But when Drew finishes his shower, he finds her on his terrace. He confesses that he really wants this evening to turn out okay. Beth gets the feeling that he wanted to impress her with how put together he is since they broke up. She assures him there is no need to show off because they are friends. She'd rather the pair of them be honest with each other, it would seem. With that, Drew asks her if she has also felt weird since they broke up. She admits that she has, because it's strange when he's not around. She is so used to them being together that it's been difficult for her to be apart. He agrees and points out it doesn't feel normal that they are not together. But it is normal, she insists, especially when they are trying to move on after their breakup. He asks her if she has gotten over it, and Beth claims she is doing a pretty good job at it. He only nods in agreement, but God knows he is having a hard time moving on. Drew's face says it all. He wants to have a second chance with Beth. But so far, he's been getting mixed signals from her. Then Drew chuckles at the irony of the situation. Move on. No need to impress. Then why is Beth wearing a short dress that will surely tempt him? Why bring wine when she thought they were going out? Beth refuses to answer these questions. She doesn't want to have her feelings all laid out in front of him. Because if she does, then they will surely get back together, and nothing will have changed. She abruptly changes her mind and says she wants to have dinner out. It looks like it's going to be a long night for both of them. Along the way, they talk about things that most normal couples talk about. Listening to their conversation, one can assume Beth is an uptight person. Drew even calls her not adventurous when it comes to fulfilling intimate fantasies. Beth feels the need to defend herself and cites some instances in the past when she tried to give in to his requests, like wearing some fetish clothing and cotton undergarments. Drew appreciates it. In fact, he fondly remembers when Beth bought a lacy, striped undergarment that always made his head spin with desire. She laughs knowingly. Drew realizes she's wearing it tonight. Beth knows it will set Drew in the mood. At this point, one can say they're with Drew about being confused by her mixed signals. Does she really want to move on from their relationship? In the end, they do not find a suitable restaurant to their liking, so they decide to buy yogurt and eat in the parking lot. They continue their conversation about sex, discussing some of their sexual tendencies and preferences. In the whole conversation, they have admitted more about themselves than they did during their entire relationship. It is something new to both of them, as they never really tried to explore this part of their relationship before. It feels weird that they know so much about each other, yet there is still a lot more to know. Their conversation on sexual proclivities ends when the yogurt spills on Drew's nether regions. They decide to return to his house. Drew takes another shower. He makes sure to clean himself everywhere, including where the yogurt spilled. Then he gets the shock of his life when he sees Beth changing into his clothes. She says it feels more comfortable and natural, compared to her short dress. Drew can only agree. Is she aware that he finds her sexy when she's wearing his clothes? They talk about their conversation in the car earlier. They both recognize there is some sort of embarrassment between them, but they try to lighten the situation. Beth is drinking her wine again. Drew recognizes that they can take this opportunity while they're being honest with each other to talk through some uncomfortable secrets. Maybe that is a good enough reason to try again. He asks Beth for a second chance, but she refuses him. She says their relationship was good, and they were great together, until they weren't. Drew pleads, insisting that they can work it out, bolstered by his newfound honesty, and the strange situation they find themselves in, hoping to convince her. But for Beth, nothing has really changed. It seems like one of the causes of their breakup was that Beth needed Drew to change some things. Perhaps some behaviors or habits, like cleaning and drinking. They would talk about it and give it some time to process, but eventually, nothing really happened. He correctly summarizes what is happening right there and then. He has shown her he is capable of changing, but she is not interested in seeing any of it. And yet she is there, sitting on his sofa. It is confusing to him. Beth argues back, rising to his words. Yes, she wants Drew to change, but not for her. He shouldn't change for anyone else. She wants him to change of his own accord, to make improvements for himself and not for anyone else. She does not want their relationship to end with him resenting her. However, that is exactly Drew's point. He doesn't know what to do, because Beth will not be upfront with it and just tell him what she wants. She responds that she doesn't want to fight, so he tries to calm the situation down. To diffuse the tension, and because he is hungry, he decides to cook some food. Beth says she does not need any because she is already full. But he looks doubtful. How can anyone feel full by only eating yogurt and wine? She insists that she will just have any chips or crisps if she gets hungry later. He doesn't want to argue further, so he stands up and goes to the kitchen, intending to cook some omelets. From there, he asks her how much she has read from the magazine. She replies that she has read up until the part where the magazine article discusses things that couples used to do. Drew remembers something, so he goes back into the living room and looks at Beth. She used to lie sideways on that sofa, reading a magazine while a soft blanket covered her legs. A glass of wine would be on the table, ready for her consumption. And Drew would spend minutes just looking at her, at how perfectly she fit on that sofa, in his house, in his life. If Beth asked him what he was doing, he would be honest and say he was simply looking at her. Then he would sit beside her, and they would spend hours just quietly enjoying each other's company. A blissful memory of the peaceful and wonderful days they used to spend together, strangely mirrored in this bizarre moment in time. But now, it does not feel the same. He looks down at her, in the same position, with the same glass of wine, but it does not give that familiar feeling of home and love. Drew wakes up from his fantasies and continues cooking his eggs. A few minutes later, Beth comes up to him. She has finished the bottle of wine. Drew comments about this wine drinking habit, to which she claims that it makes one look dignified. He scoffs at this and makes fun of her. From Beth's reaction, it looks like she is not a sport when it comes to banter. She easily gets defensive and always wants the upper hand. Drew knows this well, so he lightens up the situation by making fun of some French pronunciations about omelets. When she asks for the chips, he points at his broken dishwasher, which has been made into a full-time pantry. Beth pulls out a bag of tortilla chips and tries it with ketchup. She also tries to force him into eating it, but he refuses. And when she does, she regrets it immediately. It seems that all that wine is finally kicking in. Drew simply gloats about payback, all the while admiring how sexy she looks in his clothes. Beth feels uncomfortable about his observations, not drunk enough to admit even to herself that his overt admiration is causing her to feel something dangerous. So they make sure their conversation is light enough to steer them away from issues they yet have to address. After cooking, they sit in the living room watching a television program while Drew eats his omelet. After finishing his meal, he looks at her. Perhaps, he thinks, Beth has calmed down and is ready to talk. She is willing to talk about anything, but she has no idea what they should talk about. Drew gets an idea. He plays a song called Midnight by Mark Hampson. Then he invites her to dance with him. This is such a nostalgic moment for them. They recall some memories brought about by the song. The most notable one was when Beth was so mad that not even Drew could calm her down. And when the song played, she just breathed out her anger. As they continue to dance, they simply enjoy the intimacy they still share. Drew tells her emotionally that he loved her, and then Beth reaches up on her tiptoes for a kiss. It is clear they still long for each other. When no words are said, if they let their actions lead them, they would have gotten back together instantly. But it is she who pulls back first. When asked why, she says it is wrong. She points out that their relationship is not the same anymore. They should not be so intimate with each other if they are truly trying to move on. Drew is unwilling to accept this answer, pressing further, desperate to seize the chance he's been given. He asks her if she still loves him, and she truthfully confesses that she does. He tries to convince her that if that's the case, then kissing should not be a problem, since they are two people in love. She counters that it is, especially when those two people are trying to move on. For Beth, she knows that she's clear with her intentions for the night. If they are to get back together, there must be some changes in the dynamics of their relationship. She still loves him, but she doesn't want things to stay the same. Drew gets tired of this argument. He walks toward the kitchen to put some distance between them. This night is not going according to plan. It is all confusing for him. Every time he tries to initiate something, Beth's response is to pull back or be defensive. He is doing his best to open up to her, to address the issues of why they broke up in the first place. He knows he is not perfect and he has a lot of things to work on. But her actions are making this harder on both of them. Bringing wine, wearing that short dress, and even changing into his clothes. That's not the kind of thing that ex-lovers turned friends do, especially when one of them claims to move on. Now, she even has the gall to approach him and hug him, as if nothing has happened between them, but won't accept his affection when he tries to offer it. He can't deal with all these mixed signals, and he's left frustrated and bewildered. The tension is rising between the two of them. Beth sighs and finally asks him how he feels about tonight. If that is what she wants to know, then he will be honest about it. He wants to get back together with her. He still loves her, but he has felt his heart break a dozen times that night because Beth is not clear about what she wants. Beth laughs at this, but a frustrated Drew doesn't take this lightly. She immediately explains her side of things, to lay it out clearly for him. She shows up at his house, wearing the shortest dress she owns. She teases him and wears his clothes. She's doing all this on purpose, tempting him, because she still loves him, too. But she has to keep reminding herself that they are not together anymore. That perhaps their breakup is a way for them to address the real problem between them. If she gave in, then Drew would not have had to suffer his heartaches. They would have gotten back together as soon as she arrived at his door. But that is not how things work. The problem, if they get back together, is that she does not want to be his girlfriend anymore. She wants to be his wife. There it is. That is the main reason why they separated in the first place. One wants to move forward in their relationship, while the other doesn't see the need for it. Beth wants to marry Drew, but Drew wants them to stay the same, because being married does not change anything. For him, the dynamics of their relationship will still be the same, regardless if they marry or not. But for Beth, it is her security, her protection in the future, especially when they decide to have a child. Both of them have reasons for the point of view they have about this issue. It turns out that Drew's parents separated. Because of this, he lost faith in marriage. He is afraid that he and Beth will end up like his parents. He does not want that to happen, because she is everything to him. It seems, though, that in holding back from giving her what she wants, he's lost her anyway. As for Beth, she and her mother were abandoned by her father when she was a child. That explains why she developed some form of defensiveness and avoidance of emotions, because she does not want to feel left alone again. But she pushes for marriage because she loves Drew. All she asks is that piece of paper that will confirm the bond between them, and ensure that any children they have will not suffer the same heartbreak she did. Now that they have brought up the demons from their past, they do not know where to go from here. They question themselves when they first broke up and they still haven't found the answer. Are they even ready to have a relationship in the first place, when their pasts are still holding them both back? Beth is so frustrated, she leaves him in the kitchen to go to the bathroom. Moments later, Drew hears the sound of breaking glass. Worried that something may have happened, he runs to her. He finds her in the bathroom. He helps her wrap the wound with a bandage. Then, they stay there together for a few moments. Her sitting on the toilet, him on the floor. When it really comes down to it, they need to be honest about how they truly feel about each other. If only that was all it would take to make things right. Then Drew finally says the words. He wants her to marry him. Beth is taken aback. She has been wanting to hear those words from him for a long time. But she doesn't respond. She leaves him on the floor. Drew is confused again. Isn't that what she wanted? He is willing to give it, to compromise just to be with her. Did he mess something up again? Beth explains that if he is going to ask her to marry him, then she wants it to be his idea. She wants him to mean it. Because no matter how many times he repeats the question, it will not matter if Drew doesn't really want it. She does not want him to ask her just because she cut herself. And he thinks that is a fair point. Perhaps if he can time it right, then she will say yes. But for now, they need to figure out what to do. Drew suggests getting back together. They still love each other, so being together is a good idea. Will it be different this time? Will they have to start over? He says they do not need to start again. They are just simply picking up from where they left off when they broke up. Beth seems to finally be listening to him and considers his words carefully. She goes to his pantry to look for more wine. She finds a bottle and immediately fills a glass. After downing all its contents, she proceeds to seduce him. This time, it is Drew that pulls back. This time, it's Beth's turn to be confused. Didn't he want this ever since Beth came over? Why is he refusing this chance? Drew is resolute and states that after all that they have said that night, he wants her for her. That if they will be making love, it will not be empty. It will not just be a simple kiss and makeup scenario. She tries to go in for a seductive kiss, but he stops her. Then she honestly tells him what she thinks. She wants to know if they can still spark that connection within them. Perhaps they can get back together, at least on this level. She wants to be sure that their relationship can survive, even if they do not get married. This is her way to compromise. Drew understands her point of view. Eventually, he lets his feelings take over him, pulling her into his arms. This time, when they kiss, there's familiarity in the intimacy, but also something new that they can explore. They make love. After their session, they lie on the couch for a few more moments. It looks like they found a new way to view their relationship, especially Drew. After all the things they said, after all the heartaches he felt that night, it all comes down to one thing: that he loves Beth and he's willing to do anything for her. Then their conversation goes back to the topic of marriage. He asks her once again to marry him. Beth reiterates that when they do get married, it has to be his choice, and not because it is what she wants him to do. This circles back to her whole philosophy, that if Drew is going to make changes in his life, it can't just be for her sake. He thinks that she is missing the point. He is finally ready, but Beth keeps on insisting he is not. He tells her that if they keep on with this arrangement, talking about whether they should get married or not, eventually one of them will get tired and call it quits. For good. She may find another guy who will make her happy and marry her. Then she can experience her perfect happily ever after. He may find another girl who will be with him and do all the sexual things he likes. But, he admits with a poignant sigh, he will never get his happily ever after, because that girl is not Beth. If that is not a huge clue about Drew's priorities, then what else can it mean? Beth ruminates about what he said. It slowly dawns on her that he's doing what makes her happy, and that's what he's always wanted to do. It's now up to her to decide if she's willing to give them both another chance at love. Another chance to make things right for both of them. He gets up and enters his bedroom. She follows him there shortly. Through her gestures, she wants him to know that she's reconsidering. They finally sleep the night away. But when Drew wakes up the next morning, Beth is gone. She leaves him a note in his kitchen, telling him goodbye. He takes it as her final answer. Yes, this movie spans one night of trying to understand what went wrong in their relationship. Both Drew and Beth admitted to still having feelings for each other, but their differences kept them from getting back together. In the end, Drew realizes his feelings for her may not be enough to keep both of them afloat, especially when she is the one who always pulls back. He goes out to the terrace to take things in and process his emotions. His heart is breaking, but he will recover. He cannot erase his love for Beth so soon, not when it is still strong and fresh in his heart. But maybe he does not need to. From a distance, he can see Beth's car still parked in his driveway. A smile forms slowly on Drew's face. Perhaps all hope is not lost. Sitting in the car, Beth does not know why she has still not left. So many things have happened in one night. In her heart and mind, she knows what she wants. And yet, she stays. She remembers Drew's words about their possible future if they decide not to get back together. Well, she agrees that she may find another man. But she now knows she will not have her happily ever after, because that man is not Drew. She gets out of the car and walks back to his house, ready to face their differences and try once again to find true happiness with the man she loves. Hope has risen inside her, and she will cling to it to the very end.